Katherine Albrecht for StartMail, the private AI-free email alternative.
This is the Dr. Katherine Albrecht Show.
Raise a signal flag on a bare hilltop. Call up an army against Babylon. Raise a signal flag on a bare hilltop. Call up an army against Babylon. Wave your hand to encourage them. Wave your hand to encourage them. As they march into the palaces of the high and mighty. I, the Lord, have dedicated these soldiers for this task. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger. And they will rejoice when I am exalted.
Hello? Happy Monday. I think I got this right. Okay. Nice to be back in my studio and have my camera actually on and functioning. I appreciate everyone who stood by. Well, I tried to make that work for the last couple of days. Of course, last week, a portion of last week, I was in the corner in my little timeout because I had the audacity to talk about to allow one of my guests to discuss the fact that he had been healed after really following all the doctor's advice and doing everything correctly. I'll go light on that because I don't want to experience that again, but I'm happy to be back on the air and happy to be back in my studio and have all of my equipment working. So hopefully everything is hunky-dory here. I am in the chat room at katherine-albrecht.com. You can listen live there. There's also a live chat that is on Monday through Friday between the hours of 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern, which is my time zone here. You can also, if you would like, go to the YouTube channel where I should be live streaming and I now have the chat window back. So let me type a little hello there so you can say I really am there. There we go. Okay, perfect. So it's interesting. I took a class last semester with Field Ministry USA training, which is run through my church, actually. Pastor Anthony Farrell runs that, the wonderful set of classes that can actually get you a ministry license if you choose to. I am taking those classes not because I want a ministry license, but because I'm just enjoying learning. I'm learning a lot from taking those classes. They are online at fieldtraining.org. We created a special website for it. And last semester, I took a course in leadership. And it was one of the best courses I think I've ever taken. And I've taken a lot of classes in my life, as you can imagine, having a doctorate and having done lots and lots of schooling. So I highly recommend it, whether you are in leadership or not. If you are running a business, if you're running a family, if you're running a household, if you're running really anything, it was a wonderful class. And I mention it because each week, each chapter, each thing that we learned was a different thing. And the one that really struck me the most was who is on your bus. So there's a chapter in the book that we were reading, which was about the importance of organizing any endeavor you're doing, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it is a church, whether it is a business, no matter what it is, that there are certain things that everyone will need if they're going to lead such an organization. And the one that was the most glaring hole in my own organization was who's on your bus. Now, this was interesting. There are a couple of different components to answer that question. One of them, who is on your bus that shouldn't be on your bus? Who's on your bus who is throwing wrappers on the floor and blowing noisemakers and making your life miserable? And the other question, though, is who is on your bus who's doing that but would do really well and maybe stop doing that if they were simply moved to another seat or another part of the bus? And then the question, who should be on your bus but just isn't on your bus? And that was really where, for me, because there's kind of nobody on my bus, it's myself, it's Peter doing all of the graphics and, or not the graphics, the technology and helping me set up the studio. And it is Brendan who is helping to write those wonderful vignettes that you hear, the little short snippets before every show. And KHNC, of course, doing a wonderful job, and JD and Jack getting my voice up on the air. So that's wonderful to have them too, running the board. They're called board ops or board operators, getting my voice up on the air. But when it comes to the sorts of things that make a person's life easier, I don't have any of those people. So managing the calendar, writing out the checks, managing the return emails, coordinating travel schedules and such. That is something that in the past I was very blessed to have Tiffany working with me for many years when I was doing radio before. And if you're listening, Tiffany, a big shout out and a big hello. And thank you. As you know, I'm grateful to the bottom of my heart. But these days, I was really struggling with that who's on your bus. So I took this class last semester, and it ended, last semester would have ended in, I don't know, May, June? And I don't have anybody on my bus to do those things. So a lot of prayer, and I want to talk about prayer as well in terms of your future and planning, because it plays an incredibly important role. But a lot of prayer, and I am delighted that I have now found somebody on my bus to do those things. Now, I have not gotten her permission to share all of her information, so I'm going to keep that under my hat for now. But I'm thrilled. Someone who is working with me, who is a part of my church, and just an incredibly talented person who has a lot of those skills that I lack. I'm not very good at the crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I'm very good at stick a microphone in front of me and tell me to talk about something I've never even heard of before, and I'll probably find a way to do it. But when it comes to those detail-oriented things that just make life run smoothly, that's not my forte and not my skill. So I'm thrilled to have her on board. The reason I'm mentioning all of this to you, first of all, I want to put in a plug for the field training, Field Ministry USA training courses at fieldtraining.org. They're terrific, and you should sign up for them. I'm taking this semester, as I've mentioned before, the APEST, Apostle, Prophet, Evangelist, Shepherd, Teacher class, and I am also taking a class called the Church on Mission, which is about church leadership at running churches. So those are the two that I'm doing. I don't really have any intention of running churches, but it's been very helpful to learn how the church has been structured throughout the years. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The reason I'm mentioning this to you is because when, and I'll tell you, her name's Lori. So when Lori and I have sat down to get her started and launched into figuring out all the various pies, fingers I have in various pies, I don't really like that expression, but all the various things that I'm involved in, we have realized that the first step to working with Katherine Albrecht, or I guess becoming me, being me, is de-Googleification. And that is something that has just come to my attention in the last couple of days, is the extent to which Google has infiltrated its little tentacles into every aspect of our lives. If you are on a Windows computer, then your Windows computer will automatically default to a lot of Google products. You will automatically have a Chrome browser window. You will automatically have the default browser, or the default search engine on your Chrome to be on your Chrome browser to be google.com. So without even thinking about it, without even making a choice, if you are sitting down at a brand new computer, brand new laptop, you've never used it before, and you sign in, well, first of all, they're going to make you sign in with a Microsoft account. So now Microsoft is keeping track of everything you do. There are ways around that. I do not sign into a Microsoft account on the computer I'm sitting on, even though it's becoming increasingly difficult because they really want me to sign into Microsoft, but I haven't done it. And the very first thing that I did on my computer, after getting it, basically logging in, putting a password, putting my name on it, was to get rid of a lot of the Google stuff. So that is getting rid of the defaults. So what are the defaults? The defaults are Gmail, right? Pretty much everybody uses that. Some people still use Yahoo. Some people are using even AOL. I've even seen AOL recently on a couple of emails that I received, and that goes way, way back to the very beginning of the web. But Gmail seems to be the default email that people are using. Now, as you know, right here behind me, got my little StartMail. StartMail sponsors this program. StartMail has sponsored the creation of this podcast studio. The sort of comeback of Katherine Albrecht has been entirely sponsored by StartMail, which back in 2012, I helped to create StartMail. So obviously I'm a big believer in StartMail as an alternative email to Gmail, but there are also privacy reasons. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about de-Googleification, if you want to call it that. There's a Reddit subgroup on it I'm going to refer you guys to, and I'm going to give you some tips for how to get less Google in your life. All right, stay tuned.
Why are most email programs free? Companies use them as bait to lure people into their system so they can scan their data and sell them to advertisers. It's like a hotel giving out free rooms so they can film people sleeping and then sell the video. You'd never agree to that. StartMail restores your privacy. No one but you sees your sensitive data, and it costs less than a postage stamp a week. StartMail.com. It's email you can trust. Your email is your business, but if it's spied on, hacked, or intercepted, it can fall into the wrong hands. The solution is encryption, a high-tech way to scramble your data so no one can read it. For years, only the technical elite could use this powerful tool until StartMail came along. StartMail not only lets you encrypt the email you send, it encrypts your entire account. Encryption. It's just one more way StartMail.com keeps you safe.
Hi, this is Joe Jaquin, owner of the
Oh, Israel, the one who formed you says, don't be afraid. Oh, Israel, the one who formed you says, don't be afraid. For I've ransomed you, called you by name, you are mine, you are mine. Oh, Israel, the one who formed you says, don't be afraid. Oh, Israel, the one who formed you says, don't be afraid. For I've ransomed you. We don't need to write to you about the importance of loving each other. For God Himself has taught you how to love one another. Indeed, you already show your love for all the believers throughout the world, throughout even so. Dear brothers and sisters, we urge you to love even more and more. Make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your hands. Oh, oh.
Stay in your lane. Right, minding your own business, stay in your lane. What is our lane, really? What is our lane? Yeah. Well, that's a topic for a whole other show, but our lane is most definitely prayer. I think we can get involved in anything and everything we want to from a prayer perspective. Absolutely. If there's something out there you want to get involved, try praying first. You always have a right to do that. That's staying in your lane. All right. let me talk about this de-Googleification, and I'm not going to give you the whole shebang because it's going to be overwhelming. I'm going to give you something very small that you can do right now to make a little tiny dent in the Googleification or the Googleization, whatever you want to call it, of your life. And that would be to install a different browser. I'm just going to recommend that. So if you have Windows, if you have there's going to come with its own, hang on, I've deleted them all. But what I've done is I don't use any Bing products. I don't use Microsoft products. I don't want their browser. I don't want the Chrome browser, which is the Google browser. I use the Firefox browser. And we can have a whole conversation about different browsers, but the very simple thing I want to recommend that you do right now is to switch off of the browser that you're using that came pre-installed on your device and install Firefox. And I know because Lori and I just did this. So in order to do that, open your existing browser, whatever it might be, and go to Firefox. You can actually type into the Google search engine, because it's probably what you have. You can type install Firefox. And when you do that, I'll just do it on my screen. I wish I could show you, but I'm going to type in install. I'm typing this into Firefox because that's what I have. And so Firefox is a web browser. It's just like Chrome. It lets you go, it's just basically a way to get on the web, on the World Wide Web, and to go to wherever you want to go. Now, we're going to do two things in the next, probably in this segment. Number one is install the Firefox browser. And number two is make Start Page your default search engine. And this will go a huge, long way to decoupling you from Microsoft and decoupling you from Google, which are the two things I want to get you free from. Both of those companies are up to their eyeballs in artificial intelligence. I just heard, what was this? Joseph sent this to me. It's on my phone. Hang on. I'm going to tell you this because it shocked me. But let me get the facts right so I don't get them wrong. I'm on my phone here, and here we go. Here we go. Google announces massive $40 billion expansion in Texas. Okay, so there's Google. Microsoft, if you are not aware, is reopening 3 Mile Island. People of a certain age will go, what do you mean? What? Isn't that where we had the big, almost massive Chernobyl-like nuclear disaster in America? Yes, that is the place, 3 Mile Island. It was, I want to say, reactor number 1 that had the problem, and they shut the whole thing down, and it caused a big sort of nuclear freeze isn't the right word because I think that has a different meaning, but it basically put the chill on the concept of doing nuclear power in this country because we almost had a big disaster. And that disaster was called 3 Mile Island. You can look it up if you're younger and didn't live through it. I was a kid, but it was a big deal. And they have taken, because they need more power for artificial intelligence, which wants vast amounts of power, not just electrical power, not just power over our lives, power in the world, but it wants electrical power as well. And there's not enough of it. That's why they're building these enormous data centers, these huge, that's why our electricity bills are going up. That's why they're putting the solar farms in, the wind farms. That's why they're doing all of this, is because this thing wants power, it wants electricity. And they're putting the reactor number 2 from 3 Mile Island back online just so Microsoft can power more artificial intelligence, which is going to wind up being the enemy of us all. So get off of Microsoft. Gmail, of course, has its Gemini AI that's doing all of the yucky stuff that it's doing. Character AI, the one that is being sued because the 14-year-old fell in love with the character AI of Daenerys Targaryen, I guess, and then she said, come join me on the other side, and he was so in love with her that he tragically killed himself to join her. So all of that's Google. So there's lawsuits going on. There's just a lot of rumbling. Like I think if we could feel the ground would be going, we would be feeling something if we could put our ear to the ground. So let's start to the best, with the easiest things we can do. Let's start to decouple ourselves from here. So if you go to install Firefox you will see on mine when I click in Install Firefox, the very first one, Get Firefox for Desktop. And so I click that and take control of your internet. Download Firefox. It's just right there. I download it, and then up pops a little something or other, Firefox Install EXE. I click it. I just go through and I install it. Now, once you have it installed, and I apologize if you are a super user, but I'm going to speak to people who might be struggling a little bit with this. The start menu is that, if you're on Windows, it is the little four square blue box in the lower left-hand corner of your monitor screen. And if you click on Start after you have done that, after you have gone through the execute and say, yes, you can change my computer and put Firefox in there, then it will actually have recently installed down there. You will see the little Firefox logo. It's kind of orange. What does it look like? Kind of orange with a little blue purple-y thing in the middle of it. Orangey yellow. Yeah, it's like a circle. So when you see that little circle down there, that Firefox circle, you can right-click on it from your start menu. Again, click that little, the very, very, very bottom left of your whole monitor. You'll see that four squares, that blue start menu. When you click it, you'll see on there somewhere, just kind of look around until you see a thing that's sort of orangey yellow with a blue center. Click it, actually right-click it, and when you do that, you'll have a choice to pin it to your taskbar and to pin it to your start menu. Now, if you pin it to your taskbar, which I recommend, it will be all along the bottom. You know, when you first turn on your computer, you have that little start menu on the left, and that's your left, and then you have all of the other apps at the bottom, and now you will have that little Firefox as one of them. So anytime you want to browse, just click that, or double click it, can't remember. But get it installed. The other thing, if you right click it from your start menu, remember, click the little start menu on the bottom left, open up the start menu, find the little Firefox logo, right click it, and also tell it pin to start menu. And what that'll do is when you open up, you click those little bars at the bottom. Remember, that's your start menu, bottom left. When you click that, it'll be up there, and it will be one of the permanent choices that you can pick, and then you can always click on Firefox from there. Okay, so that would be a first step to de-Microsoft-ize and de-Google-ize yourself, so that when you're browsing on something that is not created by any of those big companies. All right, now I can tell you, let me go here. I'm going to go on Wikipedia. I'm going to look up Firefox and tell you who it is. I should have all this memorized. I have in the past. All right, here's Firefox. Let me read you about Firefox. Mozilla Firefox, or simply Firefox, is a free and open source web browser developed by the Mozilla Foundation and its subsidiary, the Mozilla Corporation. It uses the Gecko rendering engine, don't worry, you don't need to know any of this, to display web pages which implements current and anticipated web standards. It's available for Windows 10 and later versions of Windows. It's available for Mac OS, so those of you on Mac, I'm sorry, I don't really know all your details, but you probably do. It's also available on Linux, which is the third operating system that people don't talk about very often, but it is the open source alternative to either being on Windows or on Mac. When you install Firefox, what you're installing is an open source piece of software, and open source is really important. What open source means is that the software code, the actual lines of instructions that make it up, are open and available to be reviewed by other people, by really anybody, members of the public. You could look at it if you felt like it. The importance of that is that they can't really hide sneaky things in there. They couldn't put in there, and by the way, send AI, whatever, a copy of every single thing that's done here, because eventually somebody would figure that out because it's open source. So Firefox, to the extent it is possible to use open source software, it is typically the more private and the more democratic option, and the one that's less likely to have hidden gotchas in there. So that's what Firefox is. If you like, feel free to go to Wikipedia and look up Firefox. You can read all about it yourself. And I believe on the Firefox page itself, remember you typed in install Firefox and then download, and you installed it. If you go back to just Firefox on the internet, you can read more about it on their website as well. So now let me talk about the second thing. Once you have installed Firefox, let me go over here to my window. Okay, so once you've installed it, you're going to click your Start menu. You're going to find it there. You're going to open it up. Guess what? You have a new browser. The hamburger menu at the top, that's the 3 lines. Looks like 2 buns and a burger. The 3-line menu at the top. On the right, in Firefox, has some options, and we're only going to look at one of them. We're going to look at the option that says Settings. And when you go there, Settings, all right, your setting choices, when you click on Settings from the hamburger menu, are going to give you General, Home, Search, Privacy and Security, Sync, etc. You're going to go to Home, and actually you can go to Search. Coming up in a break. I'll tell you in a minute what to do. Stay tuned.
Email box overrun with spam? With a Start Mail account, you'll never have to give your real email address to a stranger again. Online shopping, newsletter subscriptions, getting that 30% off coupon, they all need your email address. But with Start Mail, you can invent new addresses or aliases linked to your inbox behind the scenes and give those out to people while keeping your real address hidden. It's just one more protection from StartMail.com.
Who?
You consent to sharing all data in your
Look at the birds. Look at the birds. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Can all your worries at a single moment to your life? Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers, He will certainly care for you. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers, He will certainly care for you. Can all your worries at a single moment to your life? So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. Yeah. Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. Lord will keep your going out and your coming in. Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. Lord will keep your going out and your coming in. Lord
All right,
will
so
keep
let me tell you what to do
from
now.
all evil.
Hopefully you have now installed, or at least know how to install Firefox. If you are driving and you're not able to do it, remember, All you have to do is go to whatever search engine you have, whatever browser you have, whatever search engine, type in install Firefox, and just follow the instructions. You'll have an option to download it. You'll have an exe file you'll click. Go ahead and click it, follow through, give it permission, let it install, and then it will be in your start menu. And then you can right click it, add it to your taskbar, add it to your, whoops, I am totally blurry. There we go. You can add it to your start menu too. All right, now, in order to now make your searching private, so you're no longer searching with Google, but you're searching with Startpage, which is the private search engine that I promoted for years and years and years, and that I worked with, and that created StartMail. So I know it's private. Just a little bit of background on Startpage. Startpage was originally called Ixquick, IXQUICK.com, when I joined the company. I had the founder and owner of Ixquick, Robert Beans, on my show back in 2009. I interviewed him because I thought it was super cool that there was an alternative to Google. So he came on the show, and then afterwards I said, I love your product. You don't have a lot of people using it here in the States. And long story short, we decided that I would be the person to let people know that they existed. So I did that for a year or two, and then realized that it was really hard to say Ixquick because I had to spell it, IXQUICK. It had an X and a K and a Q, and so when I discovered that they owned the startpage.com domain, I said, run, do not walk, to switch and become Startpage, because that is the starting page that you do everything you do on the internet. And sure enough, it became startpage.com, and we went from, I think, 65,000 daily searches to over 10 million a day. So there's a lot of people using Startpage. Kind of below the radar, a little quiet in the background. The couple of years between 2017 and last year, when I was not working with the company because I was busy going through my own desert, dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it, at that point, the Startpage search engine was sold to another company, which is also keeping it private. And the team that I worked with for Startpage, and we launched StartMail in 2012, that team is now managing StartMail. So that's what we're working on these days. But Startpage is still private, still highly recommend it. Don't use Google as your search engine. Okay, so now let me catch you up. I want you now in your Firefox browser, right? If you open it up, if you've installed it, you can also do this in your other browser if you don't want to install Firefox. But let's make Startpage your default search engine. So what you want to do is you want to go to add.startpage.com. That's add.startpage.com. Add Startpage. So this is a web page, add.startpage.com. It says, Startpage, the world's most private search engine. I came up with that. That's my tagline. No collecting personal data, no ad retargeting, no saving search history. Set Startpage as your default search engine to search from your browser. By the way, that should let you know something. If you're using Google, yes, they're collecting your personal data. If you're using Google, yes, they're ad retargeting you, meaning if you look something up, you will find later on a completely different website or a completely different platform entirely ads for the thing that you searched for on Google. And no saving search history. They have a list, they have a history of every single thing you've ever searched for. Everything. So if you're ever the target of a lawsuit, for example, in discovery, I suppose they could just access that information, find out exactly what you've been searching for. So Startpage sets you free from all of that. When you are in Firefox and you click add, or you go to add.startpage.com, you will have a choice. There's a button right there that says add to Firefox. And when you click that, add to Firefox, it has some a black and white screen with really kind of dummy-proof instructions here. 2 instructions. Click continue to installation, then click add. Now, if you look in your upper right-hand corner, you will see a little window that pops up. Allow add.startpage.com to install an add-on. You are attempting to install an add-on from add.startpage.com. Make sure you trust this site before continuing, and I will vouch for it. Learn more about installing add-ons safely. Click that if you want to learn more about it. This one is safe. And your choice is there, the one that's highlighted, continue to installation or don't allow. So you want to click continue to installation. Click that here. I need to still figure out how to let you guys see my screen. If you're on YouTube, then add start page private search engine, required permissions, access your data for sites in startpage.com domains. Yeah, you want that because you're going to be typing in there. And optional settings allow extensions to run in private windows. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I don't think it matters whether you click it or not. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and click add. I've already done this. Pin extension to toolbar. Now remember, that's, you got your start menu here all along the bottom, got your toolbar there, and click OK. And you will have start. Now I've done this on my phone too. So on my phone, when I'm going to look something up, there's a little app, a little window, a little, not a window, but a little icon that just has the S for start page, like whatever their little funky logo is. And when I click it, it opens a browser and allows me to search start page just right there from my phone. So I try to avoid using Google as much as possible. All right, so that's probably your first step. I think that may be as far as I'm going to take you today in your de-Googleification journey. But we need to be thoughtful about how these companies have infiltrated every aspect of our lives and become almost like the background, almost like breathing. We don't even think about it. We don't even think about the fact that Google knows so much about us. Google Maps, they're tracking every place you go. Google, if you're using Google Voice, they are listening in on your phone calls and potentially able to record anything they want. If you are using the Google search engine, well, they know pretty much everywhere you've been on the internet. If you're using the Chrome browser, all that stuff's being recorded. And if you're using Gmail for your email, this is the thing that I am constantly encouraging you guys, please switch to StartMail, because what we now know, and it's in their terms of service, is that Gmail and Yahoo and Apple Mail, pretty much all the big quote-unquote free emails, are reading the contents of what you write to other people, the contents of what other people write to you, and extracting the relevant information. And they're not just doing it as an army of people. It would be creepy enough if you knew that like your next door neighbor was doing that. That'd be disturbing. But the problem here is that I suppose it'd be slightly less creepy if it were just a random stranger in another state. But the concern is that it's AI. And AI has an unlimited amount of attention. And AI also has a very disturbing tendency to know how to manipulate people, to understand what it is that it wants to say to people to get them to think a certain way. So if AI knows the kinds of content about you that it would know from your Google searches, and it would know the kind of personal information about you that it would know from your email, then if it wanted to manipulate you, it would be pretty darn easy. That's the concerning part. So as we try little by little, let's work together, and I'll try to do this periodically to just kind of get you free from another service. But little by little, let's try to get ourselves extricated from that surveillance system, because there's going to come a time when we're going to need to be able to communicate. We're going to need to be somewhat defended against the kinds of manipulation that it's going to be doing, because it's coming. It's absolutely definitely coming. I am looking here. So I've got a couple windows open. In my topics window, I've got a BBC News story on the people refusing to use AI. We are a growing number of people. I want to go here though to my Google. Is it not in this window? I think it's not. Let me open my other window. Well, I'll just start over. I'll just put a search in here into my Firefox window, which will go through start page, and I'm going to type it in again because it's somewhere on my screen, but I got too many windows open. All right. If you type a search for Google, Google, you'll see a couple things. One is a Reddit, a subreddit. Now, I talked to you guys a lot about Reddit. Reddit is my only social media. You can kind of lurk on there. You can read. You can find out if you are, I don't know, maybe you have I have an elderly dog. My dog is like 11, 12 years old, and he has hip dysplasia and a lot of problems. So I can go on the elderly dog subreddit and find out information there and tips from other people. I don't have to participate. I don't have to say anything. I can just read, and I can read months worth of content, years worth of content that people have said with regard to their elderly dogs. I can do the same if I am trying to, I don't know, see if a problem I'm having with my car is standard for that car. There's a whole subreddit about the particular car that I drive. There are subreddits for pretty much everything. So I don't recommend spending a huge amount of time on Reddit and making it, it can be a bit of a time suck. For me, I justify it because I'm a radio host, and so I can always justify the time that I spend learning about A, B, or C. But I do have to be careful with it, just as with any social media. But anyway, there is a subreddit on Google, it's called DGoogle. Expel Google from your life. If you type this into your search engine, you'll find a link to it. And I'm just going to read you a couple things on here. Help, I'm going crazy. YouTube is full of ads. Spotify is full of ads. Tumblr is full of ads. Pinterest is full of ads. Everything uses AI. Every new update makes the website worse. So that's just one person's comment. Another one, I de-Googled as much as possible, and now they have a picture of their phone screen with all the apps on it. So it's just a place to kind of poke around, learn a little bit more that you are not alone in wanting to de-Google. All right, stay tuned.
I've been hearing a lot about the LifeWave patches, and they sound amazing. And I'm thinking I want to try them for myself.
I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. I knew you. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Before you were born, I set you apart. I set you apart. Don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you. Don't be afraid of the people, for I will protect you. I have put my words in your mouth. I have put my words in your mouth. Look, what do you see? I see a branch from an almond tree. Good eyes, I'm sticking with you. I'll make every word I give you.
When I dwell in the shelter, the shadow of Shaddai, of the Almighty, I'll say my refuge, my fortress, my God in whom I trust, you will deliver me. Every hidden trap that leads disease, you will be my shield, you will cover me. Your arms wrap around me under feathers of majesty. I know that I'm perfectly safe under your wings. Under your wings, under your wings. I know that I'm perfectly safe under your wings. Under your wings, under your wings.
Okay, so
I won't fear the arrows that fly.
congratulations if you did it. Congratulations. I will post a description of this. I think right now on the YouTube stream, it doesn't really say what it's about, but I will put on there that this is the Google install Firefox episode. And going forward, once we get this fully all together, and I think we're pretty close, then I will begin actually turning some of those into little snippets that I can extract the relevant portions and put in some nice screen captures and turn them into little standalone YouTube videos, which will be really cool. All right, I'm going to go here, Google, had that one. All right, there is a Wikipedia entry on Google, and let me just read a little bit of it to you. So the Google movement is a grassroots campaign that is spawned as privacy advocates urge users to stop using Google products, entirely due to growing privacy concerns regarding the company. Now, I was ahead of my time. I remember back in 2010, I was telling people, get off of these products. In fact, 2009, we had Ixquick on the program, which became Start Page, which became Start Mail. That was because I was actively back then trying to get people de-Googleized. There's another reason why you want to stop using Google as your search engine, and that is because of something that, I might not remember his name. The Filter Bubble. Who wrote The Filter Bubble? Hang on. It's a book. The Filter Bubble. And I'll tell you what it is in a second. It is... I'm gonna kick myself. I know his name. Yeah. Eli Pariser. I think it was because Eliezer Yudkowsky. I got all confused on that. Eliezer Yudkowsky is the guy who wrote If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies. About artificial intelligence, but this is a guy, kind of a similar name, Eli. They both start with Eli. Eli Pariser. He wrote a book in 2012 called The Filter Bubble, New York Times bestseller. What he discovered and what he wrote about in that book is that people were getting different search results on the Google search engine. So if Google knows... if it knows about you, now this is even before AI, this is 2012. So if Google knows that you are an interior designer, or maybe you're a fashion person, or who knows, maybe you're a house painter, and you search for the word pink, the search results Google will give you within your bubble, your little bubble that's like isolated from everybody else, is not just the top results on pink. It will give you the color pink. It'll give you maybe Sherwin-Williams sites, or if it knows you're a painter, or maybe it will give you the, who knows, different colors of paint or clothing or whatever it might be. If, on the other hand, it knows that you are a person who likes contemporary music and you put in pink, then it may give you the concert schedule for the artist known as Pink. So people were getting completely different results. And where this became an issue, and we're coming up on Thanksgiving, so it's a good time to talk about this, is if you are let's say you are a very environmentally aware person who's conscious of the crimes being committed by big corporations. And when you type in Monsanto, Google will give you in your filter bubble all of the bad news about Monsanto, all of the ways in which Monsanto has been polluting, lawsuits against Monsanto, Monsanto's latest GMO escapades. It will give you all of that information. And most of it will be relatively negative because Google will know that you don't feel so good about that company. On the other hand, you go to Thanksgiving dinner and your in-laws, or maybe your aunt or uncle, somebody at the table is an investor. And when they type in Monsanto, what they get are all of the forecasts for shareholder, all the good stuff. So they'll get all the things that the shareholders are told. Hey, we're investing in this and we're expanding into this market and we're making people's lives better with golden rice and we're adding vitamin A through the wonders of genetic engineering and how it's making everybody's lives better. Okay, now why does this matter? It matters because you're sitting there and you're eating your Thanksgiving turkey and the topic of Monsanto comes up. And you are sitting there with your knowledge of Monsanto's glyphosate and all of the lawsuits and all the problems that they've caused in polluting our food supply. and you're eating and you're saying, yeah, Monsanto, boy, those guys should be shut down. It's just a revolving door of regulation. Nobody's even. And meanwhile, the other members of your family who have been getting in their filter bubble all the good news about Monsanto are looking at you like you've lost your mind. And they're saying, but are you crazy? Monsanto has developed, this is back then when I was giving this example in 2012, golden rice. Golden rice was a rice that they had turned, it was kind of yellowy orange because they had genetically modified it to contain vitamin A. And vitamin A, that's beta carotene. It's the thing that's in carrots. And so they had genetically modified the rice, probably by crossing it with carrots, I don't know. But so that the rice grains, instead of being white, were golden. How nice. And they were filled with vitamin A. Okay, well, if you're a person who opposes genetic modification, you'd be like, that's disgusting. I'm not interested. But if you're a person who is an investor and a shareholder, you'd be like, that's fantastic. You're going to eliminate vitamin A deficiency in Asian countries where rice is a staple food for the poor. So now here you are at your Thanksgiving dinner, and a heated argument erupts, and both of you think that the other party is an idiot. That's the problem. Because you're like, don't you know what they're doing? They're like, don't you know the good things they're doing? You're like, don't you know the bad things they're doing? And it creates dissension and disharmony. Now, back in 2012, I don't think, had fully grasped the impact of this or the effect that this would have on our society of polarizing people and making people hate one another. How can you be stupid enough that you don't see? How do you not know? How can you look at the same facts I'm looking at and draw that completely opposite conclusion? What's wrong with you? Right? Well, the filter bubble has quietly behind the scenes played a role in that they don't see what you see. Where you get your news is probably, if you're a pro-Trump supporter, you're going to get all the news about the good stuff he's doing. If you're getting your news from a place that is an anti-Trump place, you're going to get all the news of the bad stuff he's doing. And that's it. We are being ghettoized into these little bubbles of information where we're not seeing the whole picture. No longer is it the case like you used to be able to go to the library and you look in the card catalog. I'm talking 1970s here and before. And you would look up something like rice, and there would only be so many things you could find on rice. Maybe you could go in the microfiche, for people enough to remember that, and you could look up magazine articles that had been published on it or newspaper articles. But essentially, the facts were the facts. There was just the information. But nowadays, when you look up rice, not only are you going to get there's 28 million sites on rice, not like the card catalog and the microfiche where there might be 30 or 40, but now there's millions. And which ones are you going to get? Well, you're going to get the ones that are tailor-made for you based on the customization that comes from them watching your every search, your every thought, your every click. They know so much about you. They know that you're an investor who doesn't care about the implications of whatever because GMO is great, or they're going to know that you are fill in your blank. So they've got us all broken down into these little categories of what we'd be interested in, and then they only feed us more and more and more of the very same thing we're already saying. So very few of us are ever going to change our minds from a position that we've taken. In fact, if anything, we double down on our positions because we're fed over and over and over things that reinforce the positions we've already taken. And to the extent we see the other side's argument, we see the other side's argument portrayed in a stupid way. Insulted, portrayed as ridiculous, made fun of. We're going to see the other side's position not from the actual standpoint of here's what they really believe, and maybe you should look at it and consider maybe finding a position that meets in the middle. No, they're going to give you insulting, negative content about the other side, whatever that other side is. So if a great example, the transgender issue. If you are looking at conservative websites, if that's what they know you are, you're going to get nothing but negativity about that, about how, boys are joining girls' sports teams and leering at them in the dressing rooms and da. But if you're on the other side of it, you're going to get, if they know that you are a member of that community or you're a supporter of that community, you're going to get content that's going to say all the terrible things, the crimes being committed against transgender people. And it's going to paint the people who oppose that as being a bunch of closed-minded, dangerous individuals who hold horrible right-wing views and ought to be silenced. So this is how we got here. And it all goes way back to this. So get yourself loose from this, at least by de-Googling yourself from the search engine, because that will get you out of the filter bubble. So you'll start to see at least a more rounded picture of any topic that you look up, not one that's designed to keep you in your bubble. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for listening.